Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be going through Nan Chiau Primary School P6 Prelim Paper 2024 Section B. Over here we have 29 up to 40 questions. So from 29 to 33 is life science. So basically any science got to do with living things. Next will be your physical science. Things like your light, energy, metal, all will fall under physical science. So this part is more of a let you know, so that you know that when you reach a certain question, you probably can change your mind to certain concepts. Okay, so let's take a look at question number 29. The diagram below shows how substances are transported in a plant. The different arrows represent food and water carrying tube. So name the substance that is being transported by each arrow. So you take a look, this arrow is going through here and it comes from here, comes out from roots. Okay, so that means this arrow, this not dash, which is the darker line, right, will be your water, definitely water, straightforward. Then the other must be your food. Okay, so try not to put glucose, sugar, because they already tell you food. Okay, just stick to the term that it already told you. Name another substance that's transported by water carrying tube. This one pretty straightforward, mineral salts. Okay, the roots will absorb water and mineral salts and then transport out to the stems, to the leaf, to be used by the all parts of plant. Mainly the leaf will use it for photosynthesis. Okay, so Alicia removed an outer ring from the stems which contain food carrying tube as shown. So they already tell you that is a food carrying tube being removed, water carrying tube intact. So the leaf will above part P but no leaf below part Q. Okay, so there's leaf, okay, no leaf. Okay, after a few days, part P start to swell. So this is what it means, start to swell. So this thing start to bulge out. Okay, becoming larger and larger. So all this becoming larger and larger. Okay, so what could this item be? Or these substances? These are actually your food being stored there. So what happened is that when you remove the food carrying tube, right, normally the food will be meat in the leaf, will go down towards the roots. It will go down towards the root. But because you remove the food carrying tube over here, okay, the food cannot be transported down. That means this green color line cannot exist below this part. So what happened is that the food made in the leaf will transport up to here and then it will just accumulate over here, causing this part to bulge out, to become thicker. So this is what it means by swelling. Okay, over here. So give a reason. So mainly you probably have to talk about food carrying tube being removed. What happened? The leaf, the food made in the leaf, right, cannot be transported part below Q, so it get accumulated in P. So I'm going to show you two ways of answering. So the first way is you can talk about as there are leaf above part P and the food carrying tube will being removed. So the situation, this is the situation. You talk about the situation. The food made by the leaf cannot be transported. So this is the key portion. This is the plant transport system. So the verb to use will be transport. It cannot be transported below part P. Use the word that is being labeled for you, therefore the food accumulated at P. So another way of answering will be something like this. When the food carrying tube will remove, food made in the leaf above part P cannot be transported below part Q and accumulated above part P. So both ways are fine. So you are just trying to say because there is no there is no food carrying tube, whatever leaf that is above part P cannot be transported down. So it accumulated above part P over here. Okay, so with that, okay, let's move on to the other part. Okay, question number 30. Mr. Lim planted his crop by the river as shown, and within weeks his crop were infested by insect bee. Insect bee like to feed on the leaf of his crop. To save his crop, Mr. Lee sprayed excessive amount of pesticide. So he sprayed pesticide, spray. Okay, so explain how the organism in the river will be affected by Mr. Lim's excessive use of pesticides on his crop. So the pesticide over here, right, it will somehow be leaked into the river. Okay, because they tell you how will it affect the organism in the river, right? So it must have leaked into the river, washed by maybe the rain. So when it got washed by the rain, the pollutant will the water will be carrying the pollutant, which is the pesticide over here, towards the different parts of the river, and then it causes what? The fish in the river to suffer, because probably this pollutant might have might cause the fish to die as well. Okay, it is a reasonable assumption. Okay, so in this case, how do you answer this? How would it affect, right? Is it mainly the population, will it go up, go down, or remain the same? So most likely it's got killed off, so it should be going down. The population will decrease. Okay, so this is how you can do it. Okay, so when it rains, the pesticide will be washed or seep into the river, killing the organism. Therefore, the population of the organism will decrease. If you want to add that, it's fine as well. Okay, so with that, this will be the main portion. Okay, so now we move on to this. Okay, noticing how the use of pesticide affect the organism in the river. So Mr. Lim decided to introduce a nature-based solution. So this is nature-based solution. Okay, that's how when we talk about the pesticide, right, it's really about human intervention coming. Okay, which has a drastic effect on the different the fishes in the river, which might affect the food chain down. So now when we introduce this nature-based solution, okay, which is introducing insect C, right? They tell you that insect C will interact with bee, but they never tell you how. It could be prey on, or it can be a predator, or it can be anything. Okay, so within weeks, observe that the population of its crops increases. So when this comes in, right, you have to do a basic food chain, okay, to know, or at least to find out what is going on. Okay, over here, so you got the crops. Okay, it's eaten by insect B, right? Insect B. Okay, this is a basic food chain. So how come when you introduce this organism, this one go up, this one go up, it must be this one decrease, right? So how will insect C cause insect B to decrease? It must have feed on it. Okay, insect C feed on insect B, so there's less B to feed on the crop. So this one pretty pretty straightforward. This is the food chain that we are looking at. Okay, so they never give you the food chain, but they want you to construct a food chain in the back of your mind and understand how it will affect the population of the different organism, particularly the crop in this farm. So this is how you can answer it. Okay, insect C prey on insect B, so causing insect B to decrease in its population. So there will be fewer or less insect B to feed on the crops. Okay, therefore the crops will start to increase. So pretty straightforward. So then the next question, based on the information, complete the table by putting a tick, okay, to identify a row best fit for insect C and B. So C in this case must be a predator only, because this is the only food chain that we construct. There is no other information. There could be other organisms that we may be feeding on C, but we don't know. No information given. We just take whatever is predator. Okay, B must be a prey only, because this one is not a predator because it feeds on the crop. This one, it is in fact just a prey only. Okay, because in this case, right, it get prey on by insect C, but it's just because it feeds on the crop, it doesn't make it a predator. Okay, this is just a primary consumer, or the first consumer in the food chain. So normally we'll just take it that this is a prey, get prey on by other animals. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's move on to next portion. Okay, so the table below shows the heart rate of two boys, Jared and Harry, at rest while running. So this is the heart rate that's been given at rest while running, and you probably see that at rest 60 while running increases. At rest 92 while running also increases. Both also increases. Okay, when both increases when they are doing running activity as compared to their at rest. So explain why the boys have higher heart rate while running than at rest. So focus on this part. When running, how come the heart rate is faster? The heart rate is faster. It means that the heart will pump faster. Okay, at this stage, since you are already taking PSLE, right, you should probably already know that this part is really talking about pumping faster to bring what? To bring oxygen plus your digested food to all parts of the body faster, to bring them faster, so that you can release more energy that is required for running. Okay, there's a particular way to kind of write this. So sometimes I call it the BOT technique. So to really write this down, explain it fully, because it's a 2-mark question. You can think about this. The heart pump faster, okay, to transport. Okay, then I'll put this into 5 different key ideas. Okay, I will call it BOT. Okay, so it's always something like this: oxygen rich blood. Okay, so I'll say something like this: the heart pump faster to transport oxygen rich blood and digested food. So that's why I put the number in digested food. Okay, so sometimes I may even include to all parts of the body. Okay, for respiration. Okay, then the last one is energy, to release more energy. Okay, because in this case, right, this will help you to fully answer this question: why the heart rate increase is to get more energy, and more energy comes from where? Oxygen, rich blood, as well as the digested food. Okay, respiration, when you're respiring faster, you also produce more carbon dioxide. This also needs to be removed faster. Okay, when you have a higher heart rate, okay, it will bring the oxygen away faster from your body. Okay, this will help to ensure that your body is functioning. Okay, so this one, how do you answer? Okay, this is the key idea. So normally I call it the bot technique. Okay, because to me this is quite a boring question. Okay, so in this case, so how you can talk about this. Okay, and then running require more energy. The word more is over here is very important. Then you talk about the bot. This is the bot. Okay, so when they're running or when they run, their heart pump faster to transport supply. Transport is a better word, because circulatory is really about transporting substances, oxygen rich blood and digested food to all parts of the body for respiration to release more energy. Okay, then the last part will be carbon dioxide and waste are removed faster away from their body also. Okay, you want to talk about remove faster away from their body towards the lung is also fine. You want to add more details or elaborate this part, it is fine, but the key is remove faster. Okay, so this question is really, the focus is your comparative adjective. Okay, the comparative adjective is the key portion. Okay, without the comparative adjective, right, this question, your answers will not make sense, because over here, higher heart rate, more energy. So some students will forget about the word more energy. They will just write running require energy. Well, at rest you also require energy, but running require more. So the word more, the comparative adjective, is important to show the explanation part. Okay, on this portion. Okay, so Harry went for a checkup and found that he has a narrow blood vessels as shown in the diagram. The doctor shared that this could be the reason why he has a much higher heart rate as compared to Jared. So you notice that for Harry, right, be at rest or running, Harry always have a higher heart rate when they are doing the same activity. Okay, this shows that the heart have to work double fast to produce the same amount of energy, okay, for the required activity. So this is what happened. This is Harry. This is Jared. Okay, you can see that the Jared, right, blood vessels is very healthy. There's no fatty deposit. But for Harry's, right, this is only the blood that's flowing through. Okay, that means the heart, right, the volume pump per beat, right, the volume of blood pumps per beat, okay, it will give all parts of the body less blood as compared to Jared, who have a healthy blood vessels. So that's why over here, right, Harry have to work double, his heart has to work double hard in order for him to supply the enough energy to do the same activity as compared to Jared. So, but this question is not asking you to state, so you don't have to state about the volume of blood in this case. So you just have to state the relationship between Harry's blood heart rate and the size of the opening of his blood vessels. Very important, you need to know which one comes first. Which one should you write first? This one should be writing first, because this is the cause, this is the effect. Okay, so this question is very tricky. They put the heart rate first, then they put the size of the opening next. But you have to know that the size of the opening is the cause. Okay, use directly the label that has been given to you. Okay, size of the opening of Harry's blood vessels. Okay, don't try to cut short. Don't try to say the size of the blood vessels. Size of blood vessels and size of the opening of the blood vessels is very different thing. Okay, so as the size of the opening decreases, so the opening refers to this part. Okay, opening becomes smaller, right? Okay, heart rate increases. Okay, from 60, this is at rest, to become 92. Okay, heart rate increases. Okay, so the heart has to work double hard. Okay, so over here, as I mentioned, the size of opening is not the same as the size of blood vessels. So you have to use the required variable, right, that has been given to you. Don't attempt to change the wording, because once you change, right, the meaning change. Okay, some people may just think that, oh, word opening is not important, but the word opening in this case, for the context of this question, is very important, because we are not talking about the blood vessels, right, becoming larger. We are not talking about this. We are talking about the same blood vessels, but one of them is more clogged up than the other. Okay, so versus same blood vessels versus this. Okay, the opening itself. Okay, but the blood vessels is the same. So this part I have to be careful about this. Okay. Okay, this is question number 32. So animal Z has a thick coat of hair and live in a cold environment. Thick coat of hair live in a cold environment, right? So we can think of it as some numbers. Okay? Maybe cold environment 5 degrees Celsius. So this one will be maybe 37 degrees Celsius. Just some numbers to help us. So it means that this animal, right, will be losing heat to the surrounding. Okay, so this is the main idea, main context. So in this case, explain how the thick coat of hair helps Z to survive in this natural habitat. In fact, this you can take a look. This is a form of adaptations. Okay? Of adaptations, you normally think about these few things. Okay, you have these adaptations. You are always trying to do a few things. You cope with physical factor, try to obtain food, reproduce, escape from predator, or receive protection. So sometimes we call it as core, C-O-R-E. Okay? So these are the core idea. So you think about it, they already give you a clue, cold environment. They already tell you they have thick coat of hair. So which one are we trying to talk about? Would it be obtain food? Most likely no. Okay? Reproduce? Probably no as well. Escape or receive protection? This one most likely no, because we are talking about cold environment. So obviously this must be related to the physical factor. The most related to the information that is being given. So how does it help the animal to cope with cold environment? Basically, this thick coat of hair, right, they will have contain a lot of air, and air itself is a poor conductor of heat. So what does poor conductor of heat does in this context or in this environment? It must help to slow down heat loss, because this animal is constantly losing heat, right? You must slow down the pockets of air in the hair itself, right, will help to slow down heat loss, so this animal can lose heat slower, help to maintain the warmth, help to maintain the temperature of the animal to a suitable range, so that the animal can kind of survive. So over here, the evidence really is thick coat of hair trap air, which is a poor conductor of heat. So in this case, the reasoning number one could be something like this: the air will slow down heat loss from Z to the cold surrounding. This could be one way of explaining. Or another reason will be something like this: heat will be transferred or conducted from animal Z to the surrounding more slowly, okay, or slower. Okay, comparative adjective, both are fine. So this is one way to really explain this out on your own. So if you in exam you are not sure, okay, think about this core. Okay, which one is most likely to be related, especially given the context of the question. Cold environment tells you that it must be there to cope with extreme temperature. Okay, so beside having a thick coat of hair, the soles of Z are also covered with stiff hair, as shown over here. Stiff hair. So using a concept of forces, explain how the stiff hair on the soles help Z to walk on ice. So you think about it. Okay, before you go into this question, so what are the 4 types of forces? Magnetic force, elastic spring force, okay, gravitational force, and frictional force. So walk on ice. So ice is most likely related to which one? Cannot be magnetic force. Okay, no magnet involved. Elastic spring force also no. Okay, most likely could be related to this, but I feel that ice should be most likely related to this part, frictional force, because when you're walking ice, it's very slippery. You will slip and fall easily. But in this case, right, the stiff hair on the soles, right, help Z to walk properly. Okay, help Z to not slip easily. So something must be do with this. Would the stiff hair help to increase the friction or reduce the friction? Think about it. If you increase, you have more friction, then you will be able to slip less. Okay. If you have less friction, you will slip more. It's more slippery. Slip more. Okay. So in this case, it will be there to increase the friction. So work this out in this manner. So you can think about it very logically as you're writing this in your exam by referring to what are the 4 forces, which one is most likely most related to it. So in this case, I already mentioned that the stiff hair is related to frictional force, and it must be there to help to increase the friction between what? Between the soles of animal Z and the eyes. Okay, between where and where is important, especially since this is a contact force. Okay, so in this case, the stiff hair would help to increase the frictional force between object 1 and object 2, must be stated to reduce the chance of slipping. Okay, the stiff hair in this case, right, would not prevent the animal from slipping. It will not prevent. So you cannot say prevent, because prevent is almost saying that if this animal have this adaptation, it will never ever slip in its life. But no, you know that that's not true, because at some point, if the animal is not careful, or if the place is very steep, the animal might still slip. Okay, it's not 100% foolproof that if you have this adaptation, it will not slip. Okay, it's just that it reduces chances, slip less. Okay, so in this case, we are more or less done with this question. Okay, question number 33. The diagram below shows mammal X that live in water. So over here we got this mammal X, we got this small spiral tusk, and we have the blowhole over here, and we have ice that's floating on top. It really covers the water. Okay, so he told you that the long spiral tusk, there is an elongated sharp tool. Okay, he used his long spiral tusk to break the ice floating on the surface of the water. Okay, in the table below, state the type of adaptation as B. S refers structural, B refer behavioral. State of type of adaptation by writing this. So breaking the ice versus long spiral tusk. So this is actually a body parts. Body parts. So body part straight away is structural. Okay, breaking the ice is an action taken by the animal. Okay, action taken by the animal. Okay, so in this case, it is behavioral. Okay, behavioral. So this will be pretty straight up. Okay, so over here, mammal X can stay underwater for 20 minutes at a time before coming up to the surface. Identify one benefit of mammal X breaking the ice to help with its survival. Okay, so if you take a look heavily at it, I want to break the ice, so I want to get up to the surface. So what is this mammal trying to do? It's trying to make sure that the air can enter into the blowhole. Okay, so that the mammals can breathe. So remember, these mammals, although it live in water, it does not have gills. Okay, no gills. It cannot breathe through gills. Okay, it only breathes through lungs. It is a mammal. Okay, mammals always breathe through lungs, even though it stays in water. So it goes up to the surface of water, take in air through its blowhole so that they can get oxygen. Okay, to get oxygen. So in this part, survival is really meaning to get air for them to survive. So breaking the ice allowed mammal X to swim up to the surface, to take in air through their blowhole above the water in order to get oxygen. This will be the main portion, okay, on this part. Okay, so with that, let's move on. Okay, so the diagram shows mammal W that has 2 blowholes, and mammal W can grow to a average size of 30 meters long, while mammal X can grow to an average size of 4 meters. So they're trying to tell you that this one 4 meter only, this one 30 meter. Okay, so straight up, when you compare these 2 mammals, larger 2 blowhole. Okay, smaller 1 blowhole. Okay, 1 versus 2. Okay, so why need to have 2? Okay, so you recall the function of blowhole. The function of blowhole is to take in air. Take in air. So then explain why. So if you have 2 blowhole, you can take in more air. More air to do what? How come W will need more air as compared to X? Because more air means more oxygen. More oxygen means more energy. Then how come W need more energy? Because it is way larger. It will need more energy to carry out the life process. Be it moving from one place to another place, be it cell reproduction, be it cell repair, all these need energy. And being a larger size animal, you will need more energy, and more energy you will need to find way to take in more air. That's why mammal W has 2 blowholes as compared to mammal X, which has only 1 blowhole, because the size is much more smaller. You don't need that much of energy as compared to a larger mammal, which is W. Okay, so this part pretty straightforward. The evidence is just quote, bigger, need more energy. Okay, to move around, to carry out life processes. Okay, both are fine. Okay, so having two blowhole allow W to take in more. The key is comparative adjective again, so that it can get more oxygen. Those of you who want to talk about more, those of you who already talk about more energy at the front, you don't really need to talk about more energy at the back. But if you want, you can say having two blowhole allowed mammals W to take in more air and therefore taking in more oxygen to release more energy. It is fine. If you want to add that, it's fine as well. So comparative adjective, this part quite important. So to show why it needs two, okay, as compared to X which needs one. Okay, so let's move on to next portion. Okay, so this portion is really the start of materials. Okay, and you notice that we have fallen into the realm of physical science. This science got nothing to do with living thing anymore. So it's all everything have to do with non-living things. Okay, so Roy placed 3 different types of material A, B, C over the 3 identical beakers. Then he poured equal amount onto each material. The amount of water collected in each beaker as shown in the diagram and table. So over here, pour nothing. So all the water here, the water is here. Okay, so it means that does not allow water to pass through. A is waterproof. Okay, which support the evidence. The amount of water collected in the beaker is 0, waterproof. So B, over here pour, okay, there's no water left, same as here, no water left. So here is 30, here is 70. So in this case, right, let's think about this. We got 30 ml, 70 ml. So in a nutshell, before we think about this part, right, we know that B and C allow water to pass through. Okay, allow water to pass through. But how come B will allow, B seems that it allowed less water pass through. So where did that 70 ml gone, since it's no longer in the image? So it must have been retained in the material. So this one, 70 ml is in the material B itself. 30 ml is in material C itself. So it means that this one will absorb more water. Absorb more water. C also absorb, but C absorb less. C absorb less water. Okay, based on the diagram. Okay, so now based on the result, I show what is the property that Roy is testing. Okay, this is not asking you for an adjective. Not asking you. Okay, so you cannot write something like this. Absorbent. Testing for absorbent. There's no such thing as testing for absorbent. Testing for absorbency of the material. Okay. How much water can be absorbed by the material, and it's also fine. So you have to write it in a way that you are not describing an object. You are not using an adjective to describe an object. Okay, so it must be absorbency of material. Okay, depending on how you write, but you cannot tell me absorbent, or you cannot tell me waterproof. Okay, you want to say maybe waterproofness, I think it's fine, but not waterproof or not absorbent. It's asking for a noun. Okay, not an adjective. So this is actually how you distinguish. One way to check, right, with your answer, right, whether it fits or not, right, in this case. So you can talk about this. The property that Roy is testing is absorbent versus the property that Roy is testing is absorbency. Which one makes more sense? Of course, this one makes more sense. So by reading this with the question, you can see which answer fit in more naturally. So the one with the noun actually fit in more naturally. But of course, if let's say they ask you, state the property of A, then it will be A is waterproof. Cannot be A is waterproofness. So they are, in this case, if the question changed into state the property of material A, then they are really asking you for an adjective. So it really depends on how you read the question, and you really have to know the grammatical side of things when you're answering this question. It's quite easy question, but it's quite easy to get wrong also, because you have to know whether is it a noun they're asking or is it an adjective they're asking. So this one, just be prepared to read a few more times to get the nuances in terms of the grammatical category of words they are looking for. Okay, so okay, with that we move on very quickly to B. Okay, if Roy wanted to make a bath towel, okay, which material should he use? Okay, explain how could Roy benefit from his choice. So if you want to make a bath towel, right, the bath towel is to dry yourself. Okay, dry yourself after the shower. So you will want to choose a material that is the most absorbent. absorb the most water. Absorb the most water. So in this case, which one is the most absorbent material? As mentioned, it should be B. Because B, if you look at the experiment and the data presented, 70 ml is inside material B when water passing through it. Only 30 ml fall into the beaker. So B absorb the most water. So this is how you could answer. Choice B. Choice B. So evidence B absorb the most water, or you can see B is the most absorbent. Up to you. Up to you how you want to write it. So reasoning relate to the usage. So B will allow Roy to dry himself the fastest. So in this case, comparative adjective again. So in this case, if I sidetrack a little bit, which one? If he want to make a raincoat, using the same question, raincoat. If you want to make a raincoat, so you can talk about. Then in this case, we will choose A. Because what A is right? A is waterproof. A is waterproof. A is waterproof. So that it can keep the user dry. Actually this is for part C. So you will choose A because you want to keep the user dry. So water will not be able to pass through the material to get into the user. That's why we want to choose material A for part C. And this will be the reasoning. The reasoning will relate to the usage of the usage of the material. What you want to use it for. Why do you want to choose this property? So in this case, let's move on. 35. 35 is about water cycle really. Water cycle. We got Danish pour equal amount of water into different metal tray. Equal amount into different metal tray X and W. Place them into the freezer. After the water has turned into ice, he removed the tray. So after water freeze into ice, he removed from the freezer, so left them at the same room. After a while, he observed some mist forming above the ice. So mist forming above the ice, this will be your water droplets that remain suspended in the air, observed as mist. So normally, right, when you see mist, right, the cooler surface area, right, the cooler part, right, it must not be a cooler surface area. It is always a cooler air because its mist is the water droplets is forming in the air itself. So there is no surface for the warm water vapor to lose heat or condense to. It's really lose heat to a parcel of air, parcel of cooler air, and then from there they actually lose heat and condense. So it's not a cooler surface area. So where is this cooler air? Cooler air is really the air above the ice. The air above the ice, right, will lose heat to the ice and become way cooler. So this is actually your cooler surface, cooler air, cooler surrounding air. So now you have your cooler air already, right? So you have to think about where is the warm water vapor. Where did the warm water vapor come from? The warm water vapor come from your surrounding. Warm water vapor come from your surrounding. So what happened is that how the mist form, right, is the warm water vapor came into contact with this cooler air, this cooler parcel of air. Let me just draw it. Cooler parcel of air. It start to do one thing. It start to lose heat. Then it start to condense, become your tiny water droplets. Tiny water droplets, TWD. Tiny water droplets, which remain suspended in the air because they are very light. They are very light. So they remain suspended in the air. So over here, how do you really explain this part? Warm water vapor in the surrounding air, state the source. Source of water vapor loses heat to the cooler air above the eye. Tell me the location. This one pretty important. And condense into your tiny water droplets. So the key things will be your warm water vapor loses heat to the cooler air above the ice, condense into your tiny water droplets. This will be the more important thing. So with that, let's move on to part B. Danish continued to leave both metal tray in the same room. He observed water droplets forming on both tray. Draw and label. Draw and label where he observed the water droplets forming on the metal tray below. Where did it appear? So over here, you have realized that this is ice. So over here, the metal would have loose heat and become way even cooler. Even cooler. Okay, then the surrounding. Of course, a warm water vapor. When it touches this surface, cooler surface, it will start to lose heat and condense. It will form your water droplets over here. You form your water droplets over here. So the key part, this. The key part where the water droplets will form, right, is over here. Water droplets at the side of the container. Don't really need to draw below, because in this case I would have assumed that this is placed on the table lah. Okay, so just draw it at the side, good enough. Don't have to draw a lot, just maybe 3 on each side will be good enough. Okay, and label them. This is the part where many people will just forget. They just draw, then they just move on to the next question. Okay, label and draw. Okay, labeling is part of the key skills in science, because you have to tell your audience what it represents. Okay, nobody will know what you are drawing if you don't label them. Labeling is an important skill in science. Okay, so if Danish wanted to wait for the ice to melt completely, which metal tray, W or X, would the ice take a shorter time to melt? Shorter time to melt means melt faster. Okay, melt faster. For them to melt faster, they have to gain heat faster from the air. Okay, in this case, it should be the air. So you take a look at this. Okay, this is the available space for the ice to melt, assuming that it's contact with the surrounding air. Then this is the available space. Okay, you probably will have noticed that X will have a greater exposed surface area in contact with the surrounding air. Because X has a greater exposed surface area in the warmer surrounding air, it will have gain heat faster, melt faster. Okay, so this part pretty straightforward. X gain heat faster, melt faster, no dispute. Okay, because of that larger surface area. Okay, so this is a surface area question. Surface area. Okay, so in this case, there's a bigger surface. There's a bigger surface area of the ice in contact with the surrounding. Okay, so in this case, C is we are talking about exposed to the surrounding air, right? So you can talk about bigger exposed surface area. Let me just write it down, it'll be more accurate. Bigger exposed surface area of the ice in contact with the surrounding air. In contact with the surrounding air. So the ice will have gained heat from the surrounding faster and melt faster. Okay, this one melt faster actually repeat over here. So with or without it, I think it should be fine. So the key is gain heat faster. The ice need to gain heat faster in order for it to melt faster. So this will be the more important one. Okay, so let me put this up over here. Okay, let's go to the next part. Okay, so this is about light. Okay, so the diagram below shows the light sensor, which is used to count the identical metal can on the moving belt. So what happened? The metal can will be on the moving belt, then the light sensor, the light source will hit the light sensor. When there's nothing, it will hit. It will detect the most light. When there's something, it will start to block light. It will start to block, and then there will be no light detected. No light. So that means this represent a metal can. This represent a metal can. 1 metal can, 2 metal can, 3 metal can over here on the graph. So as mentioned, this is just a repeat of this part, but it's mentioned in the question. So what property of light allowed the light sensor to work? Okay, the property of light that allowed light sensor work must be, most of time in this case, would be light travel in a straight line. So you think about it, if the light did not travel in a straight line, this is what could happen. This is the sensor. This is the light source. Okay, light source. Okay, the object is over here. The object, metal can. If the light today they don't travel in a straight line, this is what's gonna happen. They come near the metal can, they go around it, they bend around it, then they hit the light sensor. Then with or without the metal can, right, the sensor will be able to detect. Then we cannot tell how many metal can are there. But this is incorrect, because we know that because light travel in a straight line, this property allowed this machine to work in the way that we wanted it to be, because the light will hit a metal can, then no light detected. So the property is light travel in a straight line. It allowed us to use this property to know how many metal cans are there. Okay, light travels in a straight line. Okay, light travels in a straight line. So for this part, this will be good enough. Okay, based on the graph, how many cans were counted? How many cans are in this case? 1, 2, 3. So 3 cans. 3 cans. Okay, so during the class discussion, some of you say that actually there's still one more over here. Okay, so because the graph, some of you mentioned that the graph did not say where it ends. Okay, maybe if you write 4 cans, some school, because it seems like it is a mistake in the graph that the school did not set on where the cut-off point. So maybe you write 4 cans, some may be able to accept, but the better answer is 3 cans. This is a better answer. Okay, it's also because the graph also show the diagram also show 3 cans, and the graph also shows that it's 3 areas that is really indeed zero amount of light detected. Okay, that's why it is 3. Okay, this will be a better answer. Okay, so technically if you write 4, as I mentioned, it will still be accepted, but if you write 4, you're not really showing that you really understand this graph, because the 4, right, is it really you look at here, then you say that it's 4, or is it really that you know 4 that is because over here? So it becomes very ambiguous. This 4, the answer 4 that you write, is it because you know that I should be reading here or I should be reading here? So in this case, it becomes very hard to detect whether the answer that you wrote is because whether the concept that you know, or is it a misconception that you have that you are reading this line. So this part, right, the answer 3 cans will be much better. But since, as I said, that it seems that it is a mistake because we never tell you where it ends, right? So therefore 4 could be, but 3 is a better answer. So in this case, right, the better way to rewrite this question will be how many cans were counted in the first maybe 30 seconds. Then I allocate here. I put here 30 seconds. Then no dispute. If you put 4, confirm wrong. If you put 4, I know that you're reading this. Okay. If you put 3, it must be the correct answer. So in this case, it will be there's no dispute whether 3 or 4 can be the answer, because in this case I already indicate 30 seconds where the boundary ends. So in the actual PSLE question, usually they'll put where the boundary ends. Okay, from maybe 0 until 30 seconds. Then you read from until that part. Okay, sometimes it could be quite tricky. Sometimes they put here, or maybe until I want 20 seconds. So then it will be only 2 cans. You cannot even tell me 3. Even 3 is what is being shown in the graph. Okay, so this is more of a how did they mark. Now we go on to move part C. Can a light sensor be used to detect the number of clear glass bottle passing through? Okay, this answer is actually no. It cannot be, because as you know, glass bottle is transparent, or it allows most light pass through. So what happened in the graph is that this is what you will see. Okay, if you have glass bottle, okay, glass bottle, over here, right, you would imagine you have a glass bottle, right? Glass bottle, the light will just pass through, and then the light sensor will just detect light. So it will become something like this. Okay, maybe I draw in red. It will become something like this. Then you couldn't know when or where the glass bottle pass through, because they detect the same. So you can't tell. Okay, that's why it is no. So how to answer this? Okay, so no, the glass bottle allowed most light pass through, so the amount of light detected will not change, as the light sensor will always detect light. That's why you can't tell. Okay, or you can say the second reasoning is that light from the light source that passes through the glass bottle will always hit the light sensor. Therefore, the amount of light detected by the sensor will always be the same. Okay, because it always pass through the glass bottle, it will always be detected by the sensor. Therefore, you can add a supplementary elaboration. We cannot detect the number of glass bottle passing through. Okay, but during class, right, some of you mentioned that we can actually do so. Okay, because the glass bottle, although the glass bottle allowed most light pass through, it still blocks some light. So the amount of light detected, like technically, some of you say is something like this. It's going to block some light, allow some light to pass through. Then maybe it will be something like this. Okay, it will be something like this, right? So if it's this, in this case, right, we'll still know where or when or where did the glass bottle pass through. Then over here is still 1, 2, 3. We still have 3 glass bottles. So in this case, it can also be this answer, but you have to answer it very, very accurately. Okay, so this is how you can do so if you want to say the glass bottle still can be detected. So those of you that want to say yes, it can be done. So if you want to say yes, it can be done, this is how you should do it. Yes, although the glass bottle allowed most light pass through, it could still block some light. Can still block some light, so there will be less light detected by the sensor. So how to answer this? So this is the main reasoning. Light from the light source that passes through the glass bottle will always hit the light sensor. okay, but less light detected. So you show some argument over here. Okay, will always hit the lights. Will always hit the light sensor, but there's less of it. So this is why I draw it over here in the graph, like a staircase. Okay, so therefore the amount of light detected by the sensor could be slightly lower. Therefore, this means that we can detect the number of glass bottle passing through by counting the lower amount of light detected by the sensor. Okay, you can count here. Okay, we can count here. Okay, on this part. Okay, then this will make your answer quite hard this by the way of this reasoning, right, you can really support your yes. Okay, I rephrase this part. Okay, by this way of reasoning, you can support your yes in your answer. But of course, the easiest way to answer this question is actually no, because the amount of light detected will not change, because the light sensor will always detect light coming out of the light sensor. But if you want to think about it very deeply, this could be a yes also. But the reasoning is really a little bit longer, a little bit more established. Okay, so you will need some time to really figure out how to use your words so that you can communicate across to the examiner or to the reader very clearly that you are talking about this part over here, that it forms a staircase. Okay, it forms a staircase over here. Therefore, you still can count. Okay, but you have to really figure out how to write it. Okay, but to me this is actually a very good answer, but very difficult. A very difficult answer to craft. Okay, because you really have to talk about it very accurately. Okay, so now, okay, we go on to this. Okay, Logan placed a container with water at 100 degrees into a basin with water at 12 degrees as shown. Okay, so he left the setup in the aircon room with a surrounding temperature of 25, so the surrounding temperature is 25 degrees. So first question, what is temperature? They are not asking you what the temperature of the water is. They are really asking you what temperature, what this word temperature means. Okay, define it, define. This is a definition question. Okay, definition. Because I came across some students, they will tell me, the temperature is 100. No, they are not asking you the temperature of what the item is. They are really asking you the words what temperature means. Definition. Okay, temperature is always about a measurement of how hot or cold an object is, or degrees of hotness. Okay, the answer cannot be accepted is temperature is a measurement of heat in an object. No, this one cannot be the answer. Okay, because over here, if you talk about if temperature is really an indication of heat energy in an object, right? Let me ask you this part. Okay, I have a small drop of water at 100 degrees. Small drop of water at 100 degrees. Okay, and a bucket of water at 50 degrees Celsius. Which one will have more heat energy? Okay, obviously some of you will probably choose this. This one will have more heat energy. But based on your answer, since temperature is the amount of heat energy, right? Wouldn't you choose this one because it has a higher temperature? A higher temperature in this case means more heat. Okay, which is wrong. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Okay, although a higher temperature means more heat. Okay, but technically the amount of heat right in an object is dependent by two factors: mass as well as temperature. Mass and temperature. Temperature alone cannot tell you the amount of heat. Temperature alone cannot. Okay, you have to supplement it with another information called mass. You need to know the mass as well. Okay, with mass and temperature, then you can rather gauge which one will have more heat energy. So that's why temperature will never be the amount of heat in an object. It could be an indicator, but it's never solely the amount of heat in an object. It's always about how hot or how cold an object is. That's all. Okay, so the most important three words is measurement, hot or cold. These few words must be indicated. Okay, so there's three important words in this. Okay, so will the temperature of the water in the container increase, decrease, or remain the same, or go up, go down, or remain the same after 15 minutes? 15 minutes is a very short time. Okay, so the next question is 1 day. So they are different questions. So in this case, temperature in the water, temperature of the water in the container, they are referring to this. So you have to read carefully what they are referring to. This is basin of water. This is container of water at 100 degrees. So they are talking about the 100 degrees water. So what will happen? Temperature will definitely decrease because why? It will start to lose heat to the surrounding as well as the water at 12 degrees because it's at a higher temperature. Okay, so decrease. Okay, the evidence is that water in the container is hotter than the water in the basin and the surrounding itself, which is at 25 degrees. Therefore, the heat will go to the basin or be transferred to the basin. There will be a more accurate word. It will also be transferred to the surrounding. Okay, so in this way. So this is actually how the direction of heat will flow from the water at 100 degrees, okay, to the surrounding, which is the room, as well as the water or the water at 12 degrees in the basin. Okay, the direction of heat flow. Okay, so in this case here, I'll give you the evidence ready. So I'll give you the two reasoning. You can answer either one of them. Either one of them will be fine. Okay, heat is transferred from the water in the container to the water in the basin and the surrounding. So notice water in the container and water in the basin. So don't write this part very wrongly. Okay, so don't say heat is transferred from the water to the water. So which water you are talking about? Water in the container versus water in the basin. Write down the words that is given in the diagram. The words in the diagram are there to help you. You don't use it, you are wasting your teacher's effort. Okay, so reason number 2, you could write it in this way. So the 100 degrees water in the container loses heat to the surrounding as well as the 12 degree water in the basin. This could be another way to write, and this is more precise way. So you can see there's the two ways of writing, right? The subject they are talking about is very different. So you can get the grammar, the grammatic part, right? Is that the reason number 1 really focus on heat. Heat is the main character. Okay? Heat is transferred from where to where. But the second part of reasoning, right, they're talking about the water, the 100 degrees water in the container as the main subject. So this part really focuses the main subject here, and the verb is this part. Okay, what happened to the heat inside? Okay, so both are fine. It's just that how you want to approach this, which one you wanted to be the main character. So for those that are more particular, this will be a better or easier way for you to write it. Okay, 100 degrees of water lose heat to surrounding. This might be easier. Okay, so state the temperature of water in the basin after 1 day. Okay, after 1 day, whether the water in the basin or the water in the container, all of them will return back to 25 degrees. Okay, because the water in the basin will gain heat from the hot water as well as gain heat from the surrounding to increase in temperature. Eventually, it will just reach to 25 degrees, same as the surrounding. Okay, and because there is no longer any heat flow, no more heat flow. Okay, so let's go on to 38. Okay, 38 is about energy conversion. Okay, Russell carried out an experiment using the container with a hole at the bottom. Water from the container was allowed to drip onto the wheel of 10 grams, very specific, from a height of 5 cm, making it spin as shown. So basically what happened is that the water drip, okay, and push down the water wheel in this direction, and the water wheel will go in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, this is going against the clock. Okay, anti-clockwise. Okay, so Russell observed that the wheel spin faster if he raised the container of water higher than 5 cm. So if I put this up to here, okay, it will still drip, but the whole thing will spin faster. How come it will spin faster? Give a reason. So the factor that have changed is that the water is now at the higher height. So if the water is at the higher height, it will have more GPE. More GPE that is stored in the water. So more GPE, right, it will convert to what? More KE in the falling water. Okay, more KE in the falling water. More KE in the falling water. The object will be the falling water. Okay, more KE in the falling water can be then transferred to the wheel. Okay, more KE transfer. Okay, why we use transfer? Because it's the same type of energy. So more KE is transferred to the spinning wheel. Okay, this one you can rephrase or recategorize the object again. This is the spinning wheel. Okay, so convert. Okay, transfer. Okay, so how do you write this part? So there's actually 3 things you can think about. Okay, change factor, energy conversion, result outcome. Result outcome is really this part. They already tell it to you, spin faster. So if you want to add it in just to make your argument more convincing, go ahead. So change factor will be something like this. Water at a greater height has or possess. This will be a better word, but it's alright. In exam, let's say you don't know how to spell possess, just use has. Okay, it's alright. Has more GPE. Okay, so when the water drip onto the wheel, more GPE is converted to more KE of the falling water, okay, which is then transferred to more KE of the wheel or of the spinning wheel. So causing it to spin faster, causing it or allowing it to spin faster, both are fine. So this will be one way to look at it, how to write energy conversion. Okay, one thing that you want to take note is that the object is important. This one you have to include the object. Okay, what are the object involved? Okay, falling water lah. Okay, object at a greater height. These are the object. The wheel is the object of interest. Okay, so if you don't indicate energy belong to what object, right, it will be very confusing for the reader whether you are talking about the falling water or the spinning wheel. Okay, so try to write the object in. Okay, don't try. It's more or less the hard requirement so that I know what you're referring to. Okay, so for part B, name two other changes. That means you cannot tell me, in this case, you cannot tell me raise the water at a high height. Okay, you want to do two things to make the wheel spin faster. Okay, so you can take a look at this. GPE is affected by height as well as mass. Okay, so what can you do, right? Okay, what can you do to increase the GPE without touching height, without mentioning height? You can do something about the mass, right? So you can make the water droplets here larger. Okay, drop it larger. How to make it drop larger? Okay, you make a bigger hole. Okay, so in this case, right, you must talk about physical changes. Don't talk about make the water droplets larger. You make the water droplets larger, but how? How do you actually do it? You make the hole in the container of water larger. Okay, in this case will be make a bigger hole at the base of the container. Then you will have a larger water droplets. Okay, larger water droplets, then you will have more GPE converted to more KE of the falling water, and so on and so forth. So another changes let's say you really cannot think of it, you can use a lighter wheel, because a lighter wheel, it will allow the same water droplets that hit on it with more force, okay, to turn it faster. Okay, the same water droplets will be able to hit on it with more force because it's a lighter wheel, it can spin faster. Okay, so this one, alright, less than 10 grams. But try not to use this answer. Try not to, because a better answer will be still thinking about how to increase the mass. If you already make it larger, right, what can you do to make it to make them even to have even more GPE? You can of course make more hole, more water droplets. More water droplets, then of course you will have more mass okay, that can be converted to more KE. So this will be the two better answer rather than talking about the wheel, because sometimes they may restrict you. Okay, without changing the wheel, what can you do to the container of water? So without changing the wheel, that means you cannot mention this anymore. You have to think about the bigger hole, and the next part will be harder to think, which is this. Normally this will be the harder answer. This is harder to think, harder to come up with. Okay, and I specifically during the class, I specifically talk about try not to mention the wheel, right? It's because this is actually related to this question. Okay, PSLE 2022, question number 30. Okay, so in this case, let refers to this question. Okay, and how come I make this restriction? Okay, you want to find out the amount of wind, right, will affect the distance moved by E, right? So in this case, right, wind is your change variable. Okay, so you blow the fan, you blow wind from the fan into this fruits with probably a wheel-like structure. Then you want to measure how far it lands, right, over here. Then you measure the distance. Okay, so repeat the experiment, okay, 5 times with all the factor kept the same except for one, okay, which is the change variable. Of course, must be doing something to wind, right? Suggest 2 possible ways of varying or changing this factor. So what is two ways, right? Physical way that you can do to the fan to change the amount of wind. So number one, you of course, if you relate back to this, okay, poke bigger hole means increase the wind speed. Okay, this one is related to poke bigger hole. The other part is the one that usually most students they have difficulty to think about it. So it's easier for you to say increase the wind, because that is directly you can change the amount of wind speed, right? So what is another thing you can do in this experiment so that you can talk about the wind only? Okay, is to add more fan. You put one more fan over here. Okay, so you got 2 fans blowing at the same thing, right? So you can increase the wind speed as well. Okay, more fan means more a stronger wind. So in this case, this is another factor. So that's why I try to restrict it from telling you from using water wheel, because you cannot tell me use a lighter E1, right, in this case. So if you use a lighter E, then you have two change variable. So normally, right, in actual PSLE exam, right, this is kind of related to this question. So that's why I restrict you from using a lighter wheel. This is more of an easy way out to answer this question. So this part is easier for you to think, because the larger water droplets will have more GP. This one is harder. They poke more holes. Okay, so if you can come up with this, right, it will be much better as compared to using the lighter wheel answer. Okay, this is alright, but not the best answer. This is the better answer. Okay, poke more hole, make a bigger hole at the base of the container. Okay, so but in this case, when you're writing this, try to tell me at the base of the container, or not try. Okay, do it, because if you say poke more hole, poke bigger hole, what hole are you talking about? Is it talking about the water wheel, or is it talking about the container? So make it very specific at the base of the container. Okay, at the bottom of the container is also fine. Okay, so these are things that you can look at it, okay, on your own. Okay, so question number 39 is about forces. Okay, so and this is also about spring, elastic spring force. Okay, so over here the diagrams below shows Amy jumping on the trampoline. Each time she jump on the mat, the spring attached to the mat will extend. Okay, it will extend downwards. So over here, it will extend downwards, and then it will try to return back its original position. And then when it's returned back to original position, it will exert a elastic spring force onto Amy. Then Amy will bounce up. Okay, the diagram below shows the amount of gravitational force acting on Amy for the first jump. So complete the second graph. So first time that she jumped, this is the amount of gravitational force. So second time she jumped, because it is way higher, right? Every time when she jump, it will be way higher, because every time the mat will extend even lower. Okay, because of that that more force that she's exerting on the second jump. Okay, so does it mean that it will have more gravitational force because she jumped higher? Okay, no. The amount of gravitational force will remain constant. Okay, why is it constant? Okay, because first of all, you need to know, you gotta understand that the height, right, okay, does not affect gravitational force acting on Amy. Okay, height of an object above ground does not affect gravitational force. Okay, acting on Amy. So what affect gravitational force? Number one, mass. Number two, location. This location, I'm not talking about Sengkang versus Jurong, Toa Payoh versus Ang Mo Kio. No. Okay, this location I'm talking about is Earth versus Moon. Okay, Earth versus Moon. In most cases, most of the experiment will be conducted on Earth. So there's no comparison between Earth versus Moon. So the amount of gravitational force, right, due to this location factor, right, is essentially, it's not going to be tested. Okay, highly likely, because everything will be conducted on Earth. So what is going to be tested is your mass. Mass affect gravitational force. More mass, more gravitational force acting on the object. So this one definitely does. Okay. When she jumped the second time, did the mass change? Never change, right? So if the mass never changed, the amount of gravitational force acting on Amy should be the same. Okay, gravitational force should be constant, but if the second jump, she jumped higher, right, the gravitational potential energy will increase. Okay, if she jump higher and higher again. Okay, so over here, state another force that's acting on Amy when she's in the air. Okay, in the air. So there's only four types of forces. Okay, elastic spring force, magnetic force, gravitational force, frictional force. So you cannot say gravitational force is out. Nothing to do with magnetic force of attraction or repulsion is also out. Spring, okay, maybe, okay, because this is elastic, right? But she already tell you it's in the air, no non-contact. Okay, there's no contact with the spring. Okay, no contact. Okay, no contact with the spring. So the spring will not be able to exert elastic spring force on her, okay, because she's already in the mid-air. Okay, in the mid-air. Okay, so over here it must be frictional force. How come it's frictional force? Because the air resistance. The air will start to slow her down. Okay, it's the friction between the body and the air. That's why we call it frictional force. Okay, if you write air resistance, it should be fine, but the correct answer should be frictional force. Okay, so this question, since they ask you about frictional force, I just write frictional force. Don't don't really need to write air resistance but if you write air resistance, yes normally they will give it to you this one they will just mark you correct, but the actual correct thing they are looking is frictional force. Okay, so state the direction of gravitational force as Amy lands on the mat. Okay, downwards. Okay, it's always going to be pulling down. The gravitational force always be going to pull down Amy towards the center of the earth. Okay, so Beatrice with lighter than Amy join Amy and jump together on the trampoline. Will they bounce higher, lower, or the same height? Okay, explain using the concept of forces. Okay, so when Beatrice and Amy jump on it, right, they will have more mass. Combine them together. Okay, they will have more mass. So Amy plus Beatrice, they will have more mass. So imagine this will be your spring, right? Okay, if the two of them jump together on the spring, right, the spring will be even more compressed. Okay, when the spring is even more compressed, it will have more elastic spring force exerting on an object when it's being released. So more elastic spring force exerting on Amy when the spring is being released, right, it will push them even higher. So the choice is really higher. They will jump even higher when two of them is on the trampoline. Because why? More mass, the spring will be more stretched or compressed further when they're gonna land on the spring. So when the spring is being released, there will be greater elastic spring force exerting on both of them, resulting both of them being able to jump a higher height. Over here, this part. Okay, so let me just mainly highlight the key points. Greater mass, strings will be compressed or stretched even further. So greater elastic spring force will be exert on both of them. Okay, allowing them to jump higher. Okay, this will be the key portion. The concept is really more compressed, more elastic spring force exerting on them. Okay, so over here. Okay, so one key important point is that as long as the spring, right, is not compressed or not stretched, okay, it will not have elastic spring force. No elastic spring force exerting onto the object. Okay, even if there's an object above it, maybe the object just do not have enough mass to compress it. So if it's at the same height, same mass, it probably wouldn't, because it's already at its original position. Okay, not stretch and compress, not stretch and compress. Okay, so this will be the main portion for D. Okay, let's move on to the last question. Okay, so using the same number of battery, Noel conduct experiment using setup ABC, the result are being recorded. So ABC, so you got 2, 3, 4, the brightness, they are all the same. So using the result in the table, explain why the brightness remain the same for ABC. So no matter how much bulb you add, okay, the brightness for each individual bulb is always the same. It's going to tell you that this must be a parallel. Okay, for series will be different. Every time you add more bulb, the brightness will decrease. Okay, so the main explanation will be is in parallel. Okay, the electricity flowing through the closed circuit is not being shared by the bulb. They are not being shared. They have their own path, and each path will have the same amount of electricity flowing through them. Another way of answering will be, okay, the bulbs are arranged in parallel. The amount of electricity flowing through the closed circuit in each bulb will not change when more bulbs are added. Okay, no matter how many bulbs you add them in parallel, the amount of electricity through each path will remain the same. Okay, so that's why the brightness did not change as shown over here. So some of you that are not so familiar with the word electric current, you can just use the amount of electricity. It means the same thing. Okay, state one other variable. That means not mention the question. Okay, Noel needs to keep constant in order for it to ensure it is a fair test. So you think about it, a circuit have one thing. Okay, you have the battery, you have the bulb, you have the wire. Okay, you have the battery, the bulb, and the wire, right? So and they will tell you same number of battery. Okay, so don't tell me that you have to same number of battery. You cannot use this anymore. So what can you think about? Okay, you can think about this type of bulb. Okay, type of bulb, type of battery, I think should be fine. Don't tell me the type of wire. This one is stretching too far. Okay, too far. Okay, this one mainly trying to talk about wire. Try to talk about more important that is have a direct impact on the circuit itself if you don't keep this the same. So I'm going to tell you, if you change the battery to different type, right? So maybe you have a different type, maybe those AAA type versus those AA. Okay, triple A should be smaller. Okay, triple A should be smaller. This one should be AA. It might have a different amount of electricity, different amount of potential energy stored in them that can be converted in different amount of electricity in the wire. Then of course it might affect the brightness, or the result that has been tested. So the straightforward answer is same type of battery. Same type of battery, it must be the same so that you will ensure that it is a fair test, because you don't want the power in the battery to affect the brightness in any way. So using two batteries, complete the circuit below to show how the bulbs are arranged in A. In A only, not B and C. So you got to determine how many battery. I need two battery. I got two bulbs. Okay, wire. Okay, maybe you just decide it along when you want to draw it. Then the arrangement is parallel. So how do you draw them? They give you nothing. This is the best kind of question you can have when you're drawing a circuit. If you give you nothing, right, that means you can draw how you want it to draw, how you want it to be. Okay, most of all, right, the battery is usually by symbol. Okay, by symbol. Okay, then the bulb, you know the symbol, then wire, of course, it will be represented by lines. So how do you draw it? Okay, battery 2 first, draw the battery. So it's in parallel, right? So maybe I'll just draw this straight. Okay, so then you draw one more. Okay, maybe I draw it nicer. Okay, I'm going to draw it as close as it is a circle to be. Okay, this one pretty clear cut. Okay, this one is this is how your typical circuit will look like. Okay, something that looks like this will be good enough. You can really trim off some of the gaps, okay, to make it nicer. Okay, here. Okay, so in this case, this should be the correct answer. After you finish this, right, don't try to go and draw one more extra line over here. Okay, if you draw one more extra line, this is what we call a short circuit. Okay, hi everyone. So we have this circuit over here, two battery, two light bulbs is connected in parallel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what this extra line means, right? When you try to connect it to the circuit itself. So when I connect it, so we realize that the bulb did not light up this time around. So what happened is that all the electricity will flow through this black color line, resulting in the circuit being short. Okay. So as you can see, the term short circuit, the term actually short circuit is because the electricity in the battery is the electricity flowing out from the battery is taking this shorter path. Okay, because this path, right, does not need the electricity to convert to light and heat. That's why it would prefer to take up this path, shorting the whole circuit. That's why even though the whole circuit is closed, the light bulb itself will not light up. And over time, actually, if I hold on to this hold on to this for a longer time, right, you can notice that the light bulb will not light up at all. Okay, this is because all the electricity flowing through the black color wire that I'm holding it right now. Okay, so that's why as much as possible you should not draw this black color line. Okay, this black color line, you should remove them away so that it will not result in a short circuit situation. So it will just look like this. Okay, this is actually how you should draw, or it should be drawn, okay, without that extra line over there. Okay, so this extra line, if you draw it, it means something in the real world. Okay, it means the circuit is being short. Okay, when you have a short circuit, what it means that this part over here, right, there will be even more electricity flowing through here. There will be more. There will be less electricity flowing through this part. There will be less. Okay, so it will cause the brightness of the bulb to decrease if you draw this extra line. Okay, so in this case, don't draw this extra line. It will result in a short circuit. So the best way is just leave it as it is. Okay, so let me just remove this part to show you the exact answer. Okay, remove this part. Okay. Okay, so for this. Okay, so now I'll move on back to the first part, and then slowly you can pause at different time section to really look at the answers again. Okay, so this is 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay, thank you.